Have you ever spent weeks on a men's garment only to watch it hang wrong, tug across the shoulders, or gape at the waist? Or maybe you've avoided menswear altogether. That is the heartbreak. The fit is always off. Two men, same chest, 104 centimeters. One is gym built, shoulders wide. One sits at a desk, belly forward. Same chest measurements, totally different bodies. And that's why your so-called perfect pattern keeps failing. It's not your failure. The system was broken. And today, we end that guesswork. Welcome to GlowHigh Sessions, where the hidden secrets of fashion creation finally go public. If you care about fit, design, business and creativity, this is where you level up. I'm here with Nancy Tauber, the pattern-making queen, trusted by brands like Alexander McQueen, Burberry, JW Anderson and Victoria Beckham. Nancy has spent decades fixing what much of the fashion industry neglected: menswear fit.
People were using women's wear patterns or blocks to do menswear.
Yeah.
And that is like, it's never going to work. You're just going to have endless disasters. And your hips won't get wider, especially on men. If they'll put it on their belly, their bum's not necessarily going to get bigger.
By the end of this episode, you will know why menswear feels broken.
If you look at men's clothing, if you buy it in the store, it's based on one measurement. So all these unique bodies are put into one measurement. Brands can, and some do, fail when they expand. Because they add new products, new categories, they don't check the fit, and the fit collapses. And I just turned around to them and I said, "Do you get a lot of returns on your jackets?" And they said, "Yes, we do. We always have to redo the lining."
3 mistakes to stop making right now, and the system that lets you draft menswear that actually fits.
A lot of sewists out there think that they need their own system for each body shape, and that's the biggest misconception. So stop thinking in systems, stop thinking in sizes, and start thinking in bodies. So you take the right measurements, you create the block, and that will fit your client perfectly. Once you get that fit right, so you won't just be making them one garment, because they put trust in you. So they'll say, "Okay, you made me that jacket. I'm going to get my trousers made by you. I'm going to get all my shirts made by you." And, that's going to be your client for life.
Without the guesswork. Nancy, let's get real. Why does menswear always feel impossible to fit, even for really experienced sewists?
Well, for the main part, it's accessibility and limited information. So if you look at elite fashion schools where it is taught, you have to get into that fashion school or afford to get in there, or be able to get into work at that top fashion house, but you have to go to the elite fashion school to get in there. So if you look at local fashion schools or even on YouTube, it's predominantly women's wear. Menswear is completely avoided there. And the other thing is for the limited information. So if you look at men's clothing, if you buy it in the store, it's based on one measurement. So all these unique bodies are put into one measurement. So for a jacket, it's just the chest. They're not taking into account for the shoulders or the waist. Shirts, even worse, it's just based on the neck. So it needs to fit on the neck, but it won't fit anywhere else. So again, the shoulders, the chest, the waist has all gone out the window. So even for experienced sewists to have that limited information and no accessibility for that information, it's completely guesswork. And then they lose time and money over and over again.
Yes, exactly. The truth is, no two bodies are actually the same. That's why one-size-fits-all patterns were doomed from the start. And when those patterns fail, what does that actually look like in the workroom? For the sewist pouring in weeks of effort, what actually happens next?
So every sewist knows, and because we all started there, is cutting a pattern and then cutting out the fabric and then sewing it all together takes time. And then at the end of that, to see that it hasn't worked, not only that it doesn't work, but you don't know why it hasn't worked, it's heartbreaking. Not only that, you just lose confidence. So it stops your creativity and it stops you getting clients, because you might be really good at women's wear, but you're trying to break into menswear and then you're losing all these amazing clients as well. So it's heartbreaking, it knocks your confidence and you just want to give up, but it is not their fault, it's the system that's wrong.
That's so true. Nancy, tell me honestly, what is the funniest or the craziest menswear fit disaster you've seen? Like seams ripping open on the dance floor, or a suit that looked perfect standing, but the second that the guy sat down, it turned into a disaster.
Well, I mean, I've seen many seams burst open on the dance floor, but that was nothing to do with me. But I do remember I did work for this company. Not going to name names, but their design was really forward thinking, really advanced, really amazing. And so I was working there in the pattern room, and a new person came in. I think it was an intern, and they were explaining like, oh, we do quite thought-provoking things. We don't put a pleat in our back lining in our jackets. And I just turned around to them and I said, do you get a lot of returns on your jackets? And they said, yes, we do. We always have to redo the lining. And I said, yeah, you need to put a pleat in the back lining. So with pattern cutting, there are rules you can break and there are rules you cannot break.
Oh my God, that sounds like a disaster. That's why you need rules in place.
Exactly. And the best thing to do is to know about those rules you cannot break. And then you can design to your heart's content. Because that pleat in that back lining means that you can move in that garment. If you don't, the lining gets ripped out and then you get returns.
Yes, of course, especially if you've getting loads of clients come back and getting refit after refit. Yeah, I can only imagine. So what is the most requested thing from male clients? Like, what do they desire the most?
So the main thing for my male clients when they walk through the door is, because I do mostly suits, is they want to feel comfortable. Because I'll do things like for weddings or, things like special events. And, like for women, we'll be in like dresses, heels or things that are not exactly would be comfortable. But for a man, he wants to look the part, but wants to feel really comfortable. It's more accessible nowadays because of the fabrics that we have. They can have elements of stretch in it. But yeah, comfort and also functionality. So we women are screaming for this. We want pockets. We want pockets that men get. Nice big pockets. And the other thing is they always say like, can you make me look slimmer? That would be like, so if they have got what we call a little beer belly, it can just be so it fits over them. It's not pulling, it's not stretching. They just want to be able to fit well and feel comfortable in it.
I think men always want to feel comfortable. We're used to wearing like uncomfortable stuff that we've wore for years. Yeah. So I think men want to be comfortable because they're comfortable every day anyway.
They don't have to put in 4-inch heels.
Yeah, exactly. So Nancy, when did you realise that everything just needed to be rebuilt and restarted from the ground up?
So I think it was somewhere I saw online and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. It was people were using women's wear patterns or blocks to do menswear.
Yeah.
And that is like, it's never going to work. You're just going to have endless disasters. So, documenting the real proportions, like shoulders, posture, movement for men is very different from women. So that's why I've created a system that's going to work for men's bodies for any garment.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So Nancy, when you saw that women's drafting rules forced onto men's body, like what went through your head?
Oh God. So it was like, it's like putting a square peg into a round hole, except the peg has got like living, breathing and it has shoulders. But women's pattern making gives you the understanding on patterns and the foundation. But for real menswear, you need a completely different system because it's a completely different shape. And that's it.
Yes, of course, men's and women's bodies are completely different and should be treated differently as well.
Exactly.
So what really describes the men's body shape? What's their signature?
So there's a few, but for me, it's first of all, is shoulders. Now, I go to the gym, I can lift quite heavy, but I am never going to have the size of the shoulders of a man if we lift the same amount. So it's just genetics, that's the way it goes. And the other thing is we have a measurement, it's called the upper chest measurement and a back width measurement. It's about the same depth on the body and it helps to work out the armhole. Now, for a woman, the difference is around about 2 centimetres. Yes, it can be more. It can go up to 5, can go up to 10 centimetres. But that would be more if they have a slight curvature of the spine or they've got quite a bad posture. Men's starts at round about 5 centimetres. Again, obviously, it can be more, it can be less, but that's because they have muscle tone around the back of that shoulder there. They have what we call the lateral muscles there. They're just bigger. The shoulder blades are bigger. So that difference is, if you put that onto women's wear, it would look like it's a curvature of the spine, but on men's wear, it's just their muscle tone.
Yeah.
The other thing is obviously if you look at the pelvis, women have more of an open pelvis, men has a closed pelvis, and women can have, which I'm very jealous of, is when they have a really nice large hips, nice big bum.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But, with the small waist, so they can have that real pear shape, which I've always been really jealous of.
Yeah.
But men won't have that. I mean, if they can have big hips, but when they have big hips, usually the belly comes to the party as well.
Right.
And then if you look at how women put on weight compared to how men put on weight, women, depends on genetics. So you can put it on the tummy or you can put it on the hip or even on the back. Men, when they first put it on, it would be round the belly. Well, sometimes in England we call it, I don't know if it's universal, we call it a beer belly. I have a friend that he's very proud of his beer belly. In fact, what was the saying? Why have a six-pack when you can have a keg? So he's very proud of it.
That's actually brilliant, to be fair. That is actually really, really good.
But that if you look at how men gains weight or how they age, and then the other thing, the most obvious is women have breasts, men don't. I mean, well, some men might have boobs, but they don't exactly want to show them off how women want to.
Absolutely, that is so true. So when you need to look at bodies with an artistic eye and to think about fit, what's really the big difference between menswear and women's wear?
So, well, understanding body shape is an art. And once you learn the system, you can truly own it. So the difference is, especially when it comes to sizing. So I mentioned before where we have on menswear, if you want to go into buy a garment, it's based on one measurement. You're put into one number. So women's wear, it still can be quite difficult, because everyone's so unique, but it is sort of, in the UK, we have size like 12, 14, 16, 18, etc. And that's basis of a bust, waist and hip measurement. It's still not perfect because obviously some people might have a larger waist, a bit larger hips, etc.
Of course.
But it's still a plethora of measurements rather than menswear with one measurement. So it's really frustrating. And I can't remember the last man I've met that when I bought a tailored jacket that didn't need to have it altered.
Yeah, that just goes to show like how bad it actually is, right?
Yeah.
So every gender deserves its own fit system. What makes this menswear system that you mentioned work versus just tweaking what you buy in the shops?
The system teaches you drafting blocks from scratch. So with a block, you start with the truth. You're going from the body. It's hardly available to learn, especially online, as it just doesn't exist. So blocks are your key to freedom. For example, I had a client, I've known him for a long time, and I always thought he's got quite a good posture. But once I took his measurements and started creating a block for him, that's when I realized, because he stood quite like this, what I call an open chest. But what he was doing is he actually had rounded shoulders, but he was compensating all the time by using that. So on a day-to-day basis, when he was at work, he's like this. So I didn't see him like that. So it's only when you go to that body to take the measurements, you get the real truth of that body.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get a pattern and fix it to that body, you're just going to end up, remember, in that make the pattern, cut out the fabric, sew it together, doesn't work. And then trying to figure out where that is, what is the problem, you don't know. So if I were to do it that way, that shoulder line would be off, the armhole would be off, causing lots of problems. So look at the body. So plus once you know this, once you've mastered the foundation, you can tweak any pattern you want. So you can use this theory because you know the rules you can break, the rules you can't break, and adapt that to that pattern. So you can make patterns for any body, so any shape, whether they're tall, short, beer belly, broad shoulders, anyone. So using this, you can buy back your time, get confidence, get repeat clients, and really start to build your reputation.
So what you're saying is, once I know how to make a block from scratch, I'm no longer limited to standard sizes. That's a big belief shift because a lot of sewists think every unique body shape requires its own separate system.
Exactly. A lot of sewists out there think that they need their own system for each body shape. And that's the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
So stop thinking in systems, stop thinking in sizes, and start thinking in bodies. So you take the right measurements, you create the block, and that will fit your client perfectly from scratch. That's it. So I'll give you an example. I have 2 clients, both with the same chest measurement. So when they go out, like I said, jackets, they're only one size. One measurement. So they both buy the same jacket, but both, it doesn't fit. So one, it's stretching on the shoulders and bagging on the waist, and the other one, it's loose on the shoulders and doesn't fit around the waist. Why? One is an athlete and one sits at a desk job. So one has got a beer belly, but one has got big chest, big shoulders. So it doesn't take into account for the whole thing. So for the size, it doesn't work. But for the body, it does. So you take the body into account, not the size.
Right. So what you're teaching here, it's not about saving sewists from toile graveyards. This is the moment that most designers miss. Once you truly understand fit, you stop competing on trends and you start building power.
Exactly.
That's the point where most designers stop playing small and becomes a serious force in the industry.
Exactly, because when a brand truly owns fit, everything changes. We've seen brands explode not because they were louder or trendier, but because they sold fit better than anyone else. So look at brands like True Classic nowadays.
Yeah.
Their growth didn't come from gimmicks, it came from understanding bodies. And here's the real shift. When you have a good fit system, you're not just good at what you'll do, you're safe to grow. So brands can, and some do, fail when they expand because they add new products, new categories, they don't check the fit, and the fit collapses. And the customers, they feel that instantly. But when fit is systemized, you can expand your line with confidence. You can scale without breaking what made you successful in the first place.
Yeah.
That's when doors open, not just creatively, but commercially. Because fit isn't just a detail, fit is a growth strategy.
Absolutely. And it has to be if you want to grow your business.
Yeah.
And this is where it becomes especially powerful. Menswear is one of the fastest growing areas in fashion right now, and most designers simply don't have access to these skills. So what happens when someone finally masters this system? What doors open for them?
Yeah, because menswear is one of the fastest growing industries in fashion right now. And it's an opportunity almost no one is seizing. And if you think about menswear, men are the most loyal customers that you can ever have because they like something that fits well, they like to feel comfortable, they like the functionality. So when they find a brand they like, they will go back again and again and again. So it was perfect because when you make something that fits them well, not only, so say you make them a suit, they're going to come back, they're going to want their shirts made by you, they're going to want their trousers made by you because they put their trust in you and you have a client for life there. So if you think about it, menswear is exploding right now. So you think about streetwear or tailoring, bespoke, anything like that. It's a really big market that people are missing out on. And like I said, loyal customers that are going to come back to you time and time again. Once you get that fit right, so you won't just be making them one garment because they put trust in you. So they'll say, okay, you made me that jacket. I'm going to get my trousers made by you. I'm going to get all my shirts made by you. And, that's going to be your client for life.
Yeah. And piece after piece, they'll just come back for absolutely everything.
Exactly.
Because men are creatures of habit.
Exactly.
Let's be real.
Yeah. And it also puts you in that top 1% because few designers actually know how to draft menswear properly, especially new designers, because they've been taught women's wear. To go from the women's wear over to menswear is a big step. And without that knowledge, you're going to be losing a big clientele. So there is a designer I used to work with where they had fantastic women's wear. It was quite androgynous.
Yeah.
But the design was really well brought up. And men were like, well, we like that. And they did the right thing. What they did is they got someone from Savile Row in to give them advice to work out how to get that basic man's block in.
Yeah.
So they can then translate all the women's designs over to the menswear without compromising the fit. And it became so successful that they are one of the top brands nowadays.
Yeah, and you're so right with men being loyal. Like, that is just what men are like. If it fits well, they'll be back for these trousers, the other trousers,
Always.
wedding trousers,
Exactly.
shirts, and then imagine how your business will grow
Exactly.
with all
Most
of these
loyal
different people.
customers on the planet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as you said, menswear is booming, and that is such a huge opportunity for people out there. But it ties back to something that you said earlier about sizing. You said stop thinking in sizes altogether, which honestly is really good news because if I eat one croissant, I'm up a size like this.
All right. Well, first of all, eat the croissant.
Great.
Never say no
Good
to
news.
pastry. Come on, that's crazy. And secondly, yeah, exactly. Sizes lie. Bodies and shapes don't. So many times we're forced to take the pattern and make that fit to the body where it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
The body should be dictating what the pattern is. So look at the body and see what it says. So for an example, I had a client that lived abroad and they wanted a pair of trousers made. And I said, well, I need to take your measurements. Was there possible? And he said, oh, but I wear this brand in this size. Can you just make it to that? And I said, well, and it was a high street brand. And high street it won't be that exact size.
Yeah.
Measurements will change a little bit.
That people don't think of, really.
Exactly. With trousers, there is obviously the crotch depth, which is very important because if you don't have the crotch in the right place, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
So I made it to the best of my ability. And when he came, and this is why you have to make big seam allowances, but, I had to judge it by the way where I actually cut the crotch depth slightly different because I could see him. I saw a picture of him. But that's my experience. But you can say, when people say, oh, can you just make this? I wear this size in this brand. It's not giving you the information. Take your measurements. Take and make the block from scratch. Once you have that block, because now that client, I have his block. So when he says, oh, I need another pair of trousers, Nancy, can you make me this to go in this? Yeah, fine. I bring the block out. And I know that's going to fit him perfectly, rather than take out the guesswork. Don't panic and just take out all the guesswork and just get it perfect every time.
Yeah. And it saves a lot of time. If you've got that original foundation for every single person, then
And money,
great.
because time is money.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
If it's your business, absolutely. Nancy, do you remember a time with a client or a student when you realized like this isn't really about talent, it's about just sticking with the rules?
It was, when it was actually about, so it was with a student that was making something for a family member of theirs. And the family member had a beer belly. So, and because they were a student, they just thought, oh, I can make a suit. And it really knocked their confidence because they couldn't get it right. Because the standard measurement, or even the standard rules of creating the basic block without allowing for these unique shapes, didn't allow for extra growth just on that front abdomen.
Yeah.
You know, they think that, oh, well, you go a size bigger. But then if you go a size bigger, then it's bigger on the shoulders, bigger on the chest, bigger everywhere else. And they got really upset because they thought, I'm studying fashion, I should know this. And it really knocked them.
Yeah.
So I had to explain, well, wait, have you taken these extra measurements? Like, have you taken a front waist compared to their back waist? You know, you have to go a bit more deeper when you do bespoke.
Yeah.
When you're doing a line, you can go by standard measurements. But when you're coming to unique body shapes, you need to take these extra measurements because everyone is unique. And then you just saw this turning point of like, oh, it's not me. The standard doesn't apply to when it comes to bespoke. So it was a really lovely light bulb moment for them. And then they got really confident with it in the end.
Yeah. And I think it's just getting that foundation right. As long as they've got their really strong base and they know what they're doing, then you can just run
and it
with
builds
it, right?
their confidence as well, you know, because it's like, especially when you're a beginner, if something knocks you back, it can take you quite a while to get back over that, and almost like what you said, get back on the horse and go again, because you think, oh, I'm going to do it wrong. But then once you know the guidelines and you go, oh, there's the road, that's where I go. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the penny drops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the more they practice, then they can use that to other projects they have on. Like, oh, I'd had that problem on that project, I can use that for this. Oh, this guy's got a bigger chest to his waist. Oh, I know what I did with that project. So it's just the other way.
And it's just so adaptable.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is great. So this is where I'm really, really curious about your signature one jacket block, one block every jacket. What is it and what makes it such a game changer?
So when making blocks, especially on menswear, you have to make a block each time you make a different type of garment. So even if it's for a casual jacket or a fitted jacket or a semi-fitted jacket or a shirt block, you have to go and make this block from scratch every single time. And what I've designed here for a system is a game changer because it saves you all the time, equals money. So it saves you all the time because you make one master block. So that is going to fit. That's got all the rules in there that's going to fit that client. And then you could go and adapt it to make it into the casual block. Then you can adapt it to do a semi-fitted jacket or a full tailored block, or even to do a shirt block. So it's one master block that can change into any jacket, any top half garment. Obviously, you can't change it into a pair of trousers. Maybe that might be my next trick.
And this time I will do.
My next trick, no, but it doesn't exist anywhere. We're taking a jacket into a shirt block. That doesn't exist anywhere else. It's only here that you can do that. But what it does is you get a client in, especially like, so say you might have clients that can't get to you, where you have to take measurements each time.
Yeah.
Or they live abroad, or, you know, you have to go there. You know, sometimes it just life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you have one master block and then you can create pretty much a whole wardrobe for that person.
Yeah, and that is so huge. To have that one base foundation for everything is a real game changer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Only here in GlowHigh.
Yeah.
But there will be some clients who say, that is true, until my client gains weight or loses weight.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of blocks, is because you've made it for that client. Now, when people gain weight, don't necessarily gain it all over. Now, the thing about men is they can gain it mostly on the belly, not necessarily. Women and men gain weight in slightly different places, and it's obviously genetics as well. So if you gain weight around your midriff, you're not necessarily going to have wider shoulders and bigger
Oh, of
biceps
course, yeah.
or things like that, or even a bigger chest. And your hips won't get wider, especially on men. If they'll put it on their belly, their bum's not necessarily going to get bigger. So you can then adapt the block. So rather than going, I'm going to make the whole block from scratch again, you just take the measurements. And this is why we take front waist and back waist and front hip, take different measurements of the front and the back of the body. So then you can adapt the block for that part of the body that's gained weight. Yeah, because not necessarily is their neck's not necessarily going to get bigger. It's only if they've put on an extreme amount of weight, but that's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, drastically.
It's not going to happen drastically. So that's the beauty of when you have that basic, when you have that foundation, you can adapt it to your client easily rather than going from scratch every single time.
Yeah, it's almost like the more information that you have first, the easier it becomes in the long run.
Yeah, I have a theory, like with the commercial patterns, you have a thing with commercial patterns where the information, the measurement chart is like that. There's probably like 3 measurements. Your measurement chart needs to be like this.
Right.
Yeah. The more information, just think about like putting information into a computer or anything like that. The
Yeah.
more information you put, the better the result you're going to get.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Menswear isn't out of reach. You were just missing a system that respects real, unique bodies. This is why we created the Menswear from Scratch Masterclass with Nancy. It's the first complete menswear drafting system built for real bodies. Shirts, trousers, jackets, streetwear, tailoring, everything. You'll master Nancy's step-by-step method, see it applied on real models, and finally take control of fit like never before. This isn't surface tips, it's the complete system. Never shared before, nothing held back. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced designer, still stuck in endless struggles. This is what elevates you into the top 1% of designers who can deliver a flawless fit every single time in the prestigious menswear space. If you're tired of chasing fit issues or second-guessing your work, click the link in the description to get your free mini trial lesson directly from the masterclass and start taking control today. Okay, Nancy, before we wrap, I've got 6 quick-fire questions, no overthinking, just quick answers, okay? So, if menswear had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, for me, it'd have to be James Brown, the Boss.
Sharp tux or casual jacket, what secretly excites you the most to draft?
Sharp tux, always.
What's the funniest menswear fit disaster you've ever seen?
God, it's always got to do with the crotch, hasn't it? Backstage at a menswear show, I think there was multiple shows going on, and a model had to come in, and he bent over and the whole crotch seam ripped. And this is why we have seamstresses and sewing machines backstage. Yeah, it was a crotch seam.
Most underrated fabric for men's clothes?
For me, it's gabardine, because you can get cotton gabardine, you can get wool gabardine. For those who don't know what it is, a cotton gabardine, if you think about a Burberry trench coat, that's cotton gabardine. It's just, it sews well, presses well, it's waterproof. So you've got a cotton version and a wool version. Hands down, best fabric.
If you could tailor a suit for any famous man in history, who would it be?
Easy, Elvis.
If you had to describe menswear in one word, what would it be?
Functionality.
Nancy, one final word for the sewist who feels like every menswear project is a failure.
It's not you, it's the system. You have never been a failure. You're just on the stepping stone to success. So never give up, keep going, learn the true techniques that you need to know, and keep going. And we're going to be here every step of the way.
Friends, men deserve clothes that actually fit, and you deserve the confidence to create them. Nancy, thank you so much for your powerful insights today.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
Now it is your turn. Take what you've heard here and put it into action. The difference between good and exceptional work is execution. Start refining your skills today, challenge yourself, and raise your standard. We'll be here every step of the way to guide you, and we will see you in the next episode.